All right, we're gonna start it over. Are you
I
ready?
believe in you.
Are you
Give it a
ready? Tell
give it a
us what's
Vince
going on.
McMahon throat burning stormer crash
You're
as the return of the
fired.
podcast.
All right.
Do it.
Welcome everybody to the second Turnbuckle podcast. I'm Crash. To my this way is that's Tukey. Yes, we're visual this time. We're actually like, well, if you're listening on Spotify or any of your audio apps, we're not visual, but you can check us out on YouTube now. We have visual. Hi, Tukes.
Mm.
Hi.
Hi. It's been a long 2 months,
It
Mr.
has.
Andrews.
It
A long
has.
2 months.
So much so that you actually wanted me to do the intro. How did I do compared to
You
yours?
did great. I think
Excellent.
it's a new era for us, with the color scheme where, we've left the tag team scene and here you are
We're
now.
we're single wrestlers now. We're on our way to the
Yeah, like
IC title.
and hopefully we don't go our own separate ways. Hopefully we as a podcast are moving towards the Intercontinental title
Yes.
instead of moving towards Jim Neidhart territory where he once wrestled as a Klansman against Virgil on the independent scene. Let's hope we're
Yes.
not going in that direction.
Speaking of which, worst segue ever. One of the last times you've heard us was after WrestleMania, and I think Tugi and
Did we
I
did we do a show after Mania?
I think we did talk about Mania. We talked about night one being awesome and night two just being absolute trash. And
Oh,
you actually compared it to NXT versus Raw. Like NXT would always have the good show, and then the pay-per-view after Raw, the WWE pay-per-view would be absolute garbage because they knocked it out of the park the night before with NXT Gold. So, yes, NXT is bad now, and we're also probably going to interact with chat. AJ's asking, isn't NXT like bad now? Well, they have a guy who lost an arm and a leg of his gear apparently.
No, that guy. So the question was asked in chat: worst attire of all time, and this guy's not there now. But it was a dude on NXT who had like 3 matches named Nikos Rikos
Nikos
from
Ricos.
Greece,
I love it.
who had the worst entrance attire of all time.
Uh,
It's just a fact.
yeah, I agree.
It looked like he butchered a garbage bag, like a
Yep.
contractor's gigantic black garbage bag, and made it into like a half singlet with one leg.
They took
I don't know.
they took
Great time.
Stardust's attire and were like, copy it but don't make it look the same. So they just took the arm and the leg off.
Greek Stardust is a hell of a hmm, that's a hell of a thing to be remembered for, huh?
So one of the last times you've heard us was right after WrestleMania, and I haven't watched an episode since.
Me
Uh,
neither.
I've been kind of keeping up with it, but we talked and we said, you know what, like the whole recap thing, we're not really enjoying it. The whole WWE scene currently, we're not really enjoying it. AEW is in like this kind of good, bad turmoil, and all we're talking about is CM Punk and stuff. We're going to talk about some of that later on in the show, but we kind of want to focus a little bit more on the old stuff while still bringing in some of kind of the big news of the new. Is that fair?
I'd say that's fair. I
Yeah.
mean, you mentioned it, like we haven't watched basically anything. I mean, I haven't. Like WWE wise, right? Like it's always gonna pop up on Twitter, on Reddit, whatever. I mean, yes, I'm aware. Backlash happened and Bad Bunny got one of the greatest reactions of all time, and then Carlito topped that. That's cool.
Don't you dare
Outside of
disrespect Savio Vega without naming him either. Say Savio
Savio
Vega.
Vega sucked. Okay? Like
Quang.
I went back, man, and watched all of that era. Savio Vega sucked.
Yeah.
What's the best Savio Vega match, Crash Andrews?
The one
Exactly.
against no. The one against Stone Cold Steve Austin that we didn't get to see because of the rain power outage that they replayed it on Raw the next night because everybody complained that they paid for a pay-per-view.
I will not sit here and put respect on Quang's name, okay? My God.
You dropped the Portuguese man of war earlier, but you won't respect Quang.
I will not. He lost the 95 King of the Ring final and condemned us all to Mabel versus Diesel at SummerSlam.
That jerk.
That is a crime you can never come back from.
I love it.
That's it.
I love it. So yeah, so we're gonna focus a little bit on the older stuff. We've got some new stuff to talk about in a little bit, but one of the first things we obviously for some reason it seems to be an ongoing theme here on the podcast, but we do have to start with an honoring of an absolute legend, superstar Billy Graham passing away
Mm.
earlier this week. Now, Toots, when you and I talk about starting up the show and what we're going to talk about, we both kind of had the same vibe of like he was obviously pre you. He actually predated my getting into wrestling as well. So
Mm.
I never really got a chance to see him, but as I've said before, like you don't need to watch his matches live. You can always go back and watch them on the network or however you want to, YouTube, that kind of thing. But you really see the influence. I saw it growing up, but you can actually still see some of the influence today.
Literally, all you have to do is listen to a promo of his. That's it. That's all you got to do. Listen to a promo of his, and you will hear exactly where Dusty Rhodes got his talking style from. You will hear exactly where Hulk Hogan got the 24-inch pythons line from, so on and so
Right.
forth. It honestly just keeps going. Um, there were a lot of people calling him one of the most, if not the most influential wrestler of all time, just for the sheer amount of times he's been copied. I can't disagree with that.
Well, you have like Macho Man Randy Savage, the intensity. You have Jesse the Body Ventura, who was basically a carbon copy that didn't push down hard enough. Like
Mm.
he was superstar Billy Graham and made a career out of it as well. I say even we're seeing some influence today. Look at Seth Rollins, who his character is right now. That flamboyancy, that charisma, notched up. He's never shown that side up until just recently. Well, I mean, over the past, call it a year and a half, 2 years. Um,
Mm.
but that influence of just being yourself, but being a badass and all of that stuff, um, we are still seeing it. And I wish we'd see a little bit more of it. And I'm sure WWE, AEW wishes the same thing because that seems to be a mold that can be copied and done correctly and be successful. And we're just not seeing more recently for some reason.
Yeah, I mean, again, there's only, like you said, so much we can speak to it, just because again, it wasn't of our era and within our purview. But yeah, I mean, hey, it's one of those go back and study type of things, and
Read
yeah,
a
you'll be able
book.
to
No,
read a book,
what's a
people.
book?
Uh, you'll be able to go back and look and see the influence. It is very apparent very quickly.
So just really quickly, just in chat, yeah, we can do a Q&A at the end of this.
I don't
Joseph,
want
what's
to
going on?
hear from you. Ugh,
He's
it's
speaking
fine.
directly to you, Altex. Um, okay, so WWE, I believe it was earlier today, released a list of top debuts. Uh, I
Good.
I showed you this list. It was the top
Mm-hmm.
25.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'll run it down really quickly. 25 was Solo Sokoa. Shouldn't have even been on the list. 24.
Hold on. Okay, so as you go through these, I want to see if I have any recollection.
Okay. I don't mind that at all.
Was his debut now again, this is probably going to be like the most we talk WWE wise, and I think
Right.
just to quickly say that again, like when we said after WrestleMania, like yeah, my interest is gone, like it is. I could sit here and be like, well, the Cody Rhodes thing might work out. I don't care. But in terms of talking about older stuff, yeah, cool, whatever. We'll talk about it. You showed me this list earlier. I think it's the most clickbaity, trying to garner
Oh,
engagement thing I've ever seen in my life. But hey,
100%.
um, we'll continue on. You said 25 on
20
that list, or was it 20?
No, 25 was Solo Sokoa. And
That
this is main roster. This isn't NXT. This isn't it can be SmackDown, it can be Raw.
yeah. That was a Clash at the Castle, was it not?
Yes.
Okay. It was. I mean,
He was wearing a hoodie. He flipped up the hoodie and oh my gosh, it's Solo Sokoa.
oh my God, there's another one. That was the story.
Yeah. Basically.
Yeah.
Santino at 24. which is
That was a good debut on Raw, again winning the IC title against Umaga in Italy. That was a pretty good debut.
I posted on my Twitter, which, the tag's right down here. He should have been top 5 because he won the Intercontinental title. Whether or not he had help, doesn't matter. He won the Intercontinental title night 1. He should have been top 5, maybe top 10. 23 was Shinsuke Nakamura, which absolutely
WWE debut or NXT debut?
no. This is all This is all main roster. So
his debut was just showing up with the violinist and doing nothing.
Exactly. So again, to your point, this list very interesting. I would say Shinsuke, it did have the goosebumps going, right? But on the same token, yeah, he just, it was like somebody, I think it was somebody was like, I'll take on anyone in the back, and then you hear the yeah.
Peter Griffin does the classics, but I just
Jesus. 22 was the Usos and Tamina, who jumped the Hart Foundation, the new Hart Foundation, on Raw.
I'll take your word for it.
Yep.
Sure.
21 was Baron Corbin in the Andre the Giant Battle Royal. I don't know, I can't remember what WrestleMania was, but that was his
30.
first taste of being on the main roster.
That was in New Orleans. That was at 30. That was...
Again, like...
No, wait, no, because that was Cesaro, right, at 30? Was that 30? Nope, because 31 was the Big Show.
Hawks is saying 31.
Was it 31? I thought 31 was the one where they did the breakup of Miz and Mizdow, and like Big Show won it. So maybe it was... it must have been 32 in Texas then.
Yeah, because 30 was... The first one was Cesaro. The second one was Big Show, I believe. Endo with the 8. Thank you very much. And then it was... And then Baron Corbin.
Fun. So much fun.
We've got Umaga at 20. So the... what was Estrada? What was the manager's name? Armando Estrada.
Alejandro.
Yeah.
Estrada. I cannot roll my R's.
So. He came out. Ric Flair was in the ring. He introduces Umaga, and Umaga destroys Ric Flair. That's his debut.
10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. Destroying Ric Flair, 10 out of 10.
Now, in the video, at 19, in the video that WWE released, Rey Mysterio was in a match for his debut, but I could have sworn that he ran out during a cage match.
Same night. Okay. He had a match against Chavo Guerrero, and then at the end of the night, jumped off the cage. How that's not top 10, I have no idea.
I would say... The hell was that?
What'd you do?
Am I going crazy? I just had a sip of my drink.
You do? Okay, cool.
Continue?
I don't know. I don't even know what you're freaking out about.
You didn't hear that? I heard a noise. Oh well. I'll have to check the tape
Maybe
later.
You're just getting old.
Maybe. You know what? I've had a week. 18 was Nexus. Now, I think that should have been way higher for the short-term impact that it had.
The debut's top 10 worthy. The follow-up is top 10 worst fumbles of all time.
100%. Asuka at 17 was a match. Carlito Caribbean Cool at 16, where he won the U.S. title by using a chain on John Cena. Juan Cena.
And then that led to John Cena getting stabbed so he could go and film the Marine. That's true. That's how they did it.
15 was Great Khali going face-to-face with The Undertaker.
Okay, so like in terms of debut, sure. I guess. Where it's just like, oh, here... I can't give Khali credit for anything. No, that doesn't deserve to be there.
14 was Braun Strowman joining the Wyatt family. For some reason, when Braun Strowman...
There's another one?
Yeah. And when he debuted and took that mask off, I could have sworn he had, like, the term babyface. He literally had, like, a baby face with the biggest beard and the worst hairline in wrestling history.
Mm-hmm.
He looked like a child.
And then he, as they say in the wrestling business, got on the Simon system. And has a drastically different appearance to this day now, 100%.
Doesn't he? Yeah. And he tried to change the narrative.
He tried to control it. That's what
He
he tried to
just
do.
he did.
Did.
Now, here's where it gets interesting. We've talked about a certain tier of wrestler, and then it jumps up at 13. So now we're in that, like, we've talked about debuts that could have made it into the top 10. Now we're talking about top 10 wrestlers, but we started 13 with Sting. It was a Survivor Series, if I remember correctly.
Mhm.
The Authority versus Team WWE or whatever.
Yep. Where Big Show turned for the 18th time.
Yep. This should have been bigger on the list just for the fact that Sting was in WWE for a week and a half. I know
Yeah,
it
it was
was
about a
longer than
year.
that, but yeah. Um,
Almost a year.
but to be able to see Sting in a WWE ring was
Terrible.
phenomenal. No. Okay. To this is Nexus. The short term was amazing. What they did with it is in that top 3 fumbles of all time.
Okay, I'll give you that. Fine.
Number 12, again, at a Survivor Series, is The Undertaker. Nobody knew who the mystery
How did
partner was going to be.
Dude, WWE fillets Mark Calloway at every possible turn. How is that only 12
Flates or fillets?
fillets? Like Shawn Michaels, cupping the balls and all.
Yeah.
Like, that's
Gotta cup the balls.
you got to.
Uh,
Um, I
it was
Hawks, the all-time Heenan quote. Look at the size, or not Heenan, Piper. Look at the size of that ham hock. That's what I remember most about that, aside from a phenomenal tombstone. Um, yeah, that's a higher debut. Again, this is why the number one. Hey, it gives us content, shit to talk about, cool,
right.
whatever. This is why they make lists like this. It's the same shit. It's just in terms like, hey, you know how we hype up the Undertaker as the most important character of all time? Well, guess what? His debut was actually only the 12th best. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, God.
And here we are shitting on it. I would say
Yeah,
that
well, they got what they wish.
this is the reverse of what we've talked about, where in the short term, nobody knew who he was. The buildup was that the $1 Million Man had a mystery partner. Not
Mhm.
that he was a dead man, not that he had this spooky background, none of that stuff. And his manager at the time was Brother Love when he
Correct.
first debuted. So he didn't even have Paul Bearer at his side. This was a very short-term weird thing that obviously turned out to be arguably the greatest career in professional wrestling, beginning to end.
Not end.
Fair,
Not by the end
fair,
of it. The end of it was pretty rough, but there was, it was a pretty good start, and then the middle had its moments.
true.
And then he kind of picked it back up again, and then he he dropped Goldberg on his fucking head, and then Goldberg dropped him on his head. It was a great time.
I like the first part, didn't like the second part. Booker T at number 11,
So
part of
this
the
was
invasion.
him. Yes, so this was Vengeance 01, debuted by attacking Stone Cold and costing him the no, that wasn't Vengeance. He was already there at Vengeance, wasn't he? No, it was Vengeance. Or was it number? I'm pretty sure it was Vengeance. I'm gonna go with it. I'm gonna trust my gut. It was Vengeance 01. He cost Austin the match against Jericho, and then Jericho went on to beat The Rock because he beat The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin in the same night.
My
Thank you.
God.
And then Stone Cold attacked Booker T in a grocery store.
We are going to touch on the invasion angle in a little bit. It has to do with the list, but nobody on the list. Number 9, Juan Cena. John Cena. So
Okay, so
this is when Prototype came up and
yeah,
took part in the Kurt Angle Open Challenges.
hmm yeah.
Ruthless aggression.
But okay, so like in terms of like impactful, no, like at the moment it was less impactful
Mm-hmm.
than say the Undertaker's debut, but obviously long term they've made such a big deal out of it. So I do wonder again, I indulge you by going through this because I see this crap list as what it
Yeah,
is, just way to get engagement and to rile people up. Um but yeah, no doubt, like John Cena's debut from a historical standpoint should be on the list of top debuts in company history.
they're really the rest of the way. We're at 8 now. 9 was John Cena. We're on 8. Um, I the rest of the way, I think there's only one real holy shit moment in the rest of them. It is not number 8, but it is, we talked about open challenges. John Cena, as the U.S. champion, threw out an open challenge, and Kevin Owens showed up as the NXT champion to take on said John Cena, thus making his main roster debut, while still holding the NXT title and wrestling on NXT as well. Impressive.
Yes.
A
Yeah,
very
no,
impressive
this
feud.
100% deserves a spot. It didn't end up being a match at that moment on the Raw, but it did set up a pay-per-view match that even more shockingly Kevin Owens won. He did lose the rematch, and they had a couple other deals, but um, yeah, damn, he it's still shocking that he was, made to look that strong in the debut, and then Cena had to get his wins back, of course. But hey, at least it worked out for him in the long run, right? Yeah,
One of the most versatile wrestlers they've got on the roster still.
of all time.
Oh, 100%. Speaking of which, a bad segue because it's not a versatile wrestler. He basically had the same. Well, no, he didn't really have the same character. But he didn't have the character we're normally used to when he debuted. Number 7, Dwayne The Rock Johnson, or as other people like to call him, Rocky Maivia. This was terrible. This was a really bad debut.
Yep.
The fact that he debuted in WWE and stayed and ran the career that he had, top 10. But the debut, El Crapo.
Yeah, so he debuted at Survivor Series 96 as a part of really what felt like a throwaway elimination match for the sake of that pay-per-view. And yeah, it wasn't overly memorable. I mean, I saw AJ in chat say like, "Oh, Cena's only up there because it feels iconic because it's John Cena. This is only up there because it's The Rock." In terms of the moment itself, essentially irrelevant if it wasn't for, oh, hey, he turned into The Rock. But
Right.
in terms of the moment itself, the match itself, yeah, it was pretty bad.
In at number 6, this is the it was one of the worst kept secrets in professional wrestling. I would still
Mm.
consider it one of the biggest holy shit moments we've seen in quite some time. The
Mhm.
phenomenal AJ Styles making his debut at the Royal Rumble. Bad camera work, great debut.
Just here's Roman Reigns' confused face of, can't believe the
The worst
crowd's
camera
going.
work.
Who is it though? Yeah, the worst camera work for a debut of all time. That's for sure. Jesus.
To call this the worst camera work. This is a company that thinks zooming in and out and changing cameras has some sort of impact on the physicality of a match. And they fucked up the debut of one of their biggest stars day one.
My favorite GIF of WWE history is the crowd shot from someone on their phone. Seth Rollins hitting someone in the back with a chair. And to visualize this with this water bottle, cameraman just going and following the fucking chair shots.
Oh man, I love it.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. I dropped something. I found it. We're fine. Continue.
Okay, so number 5 has had amazing returns that are easily top 5 returns to the company, but they have him at top 5 for debuts, and it would be one Brock Lesnar. Again, I think we're going on legacy over debut.
So his debut was the night after WrestleMania 18, if I'm not mistaken. And he beat the fuck out of basically the remainder of the hardcore division.
Yes.
Um, it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool. And then he went into his first feud where he brutalized the Hardys. So, you know, breaking Matt Hardy before it was popular. Brock Lesnar.
Number 4, one of the worst executed debuts as far as the debut and what ended up happening. Ronda Rousey. Allow me.
So
Go ahead. I'll elaborate once I hear your. Go ahead. AJ's
so
kind
what
of. He's got it.
when you first so when you first said this, I'm like, well, what was wrong with her debut? Like, whatever. She had the match at Mania, and that was good.
Mm-hmm.
And then my brain remembered, oh, we're talking her first appearance, which no is not WrestleMania 31 with The Rock and the big McMahon segment.
No,
Um,
she wasn't a part of the company at that point.
right. So her debut was the Royal Rumble, where
Uh,
she pointed,
again, one of the
and then
worst.
she pointed again, crash, and then she went back up the ramp, and you'll never believe what she did.
Oh no.
She
What?
pointed again.
Um,
It was a time.
one of the worst kept secrets again, just in the era that we're in with the internet and dirt sheets and everything like that. You knew she was going to be there. She should have been in the Rumble. If
Mm.
you wanted the most impact, that's when you bring her out at 30 and have her win it, not 4 years or 5 years later, which was absolutely terrible. Asuka wins the Royal Rumble. She's in the
Mhm.
middle of Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss. Both of them are holding up their titles.
Asuka, not Alexa, right? Or was
Alexa,
it Alexa?
no, Alexa had the SmackDown and Flair had the Raw.
Oh yeah, okay.
So they're on either side of. My Alexa just went off. Alexa, shut your mouth. Uh, was it reverse? So it was Flair with the SmackDown and Alexa with the
Who
Raw.
cares?
Yeah, that both had the titles on either side of. And you're like, oh, okay, she's going to pick.
You yelling at Alexa still?
It's now playing the Toronto Maple Leafs goal song. Alexa,
Oh,
shut it. Alexa,
so are you saying Ronda Rousey made your
stop.
dreams come true? Ooh, 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 ooh.
Never.
Well, you.
So you're thinking, okay, well, Asuka's going to choose one or the other right there because Ronda Rousey didn't come out. She's not coming. And then all of a sudden, the bad reputation starts playing and she comes out and points, which then leads to Ronda Rousey. Who? Oh, they want. Okay, so they wanted The Rock. Where are you? Oh, hey.
I'm here. Don't worry about me. I'm here.
Ronda Rousey and it should have been Ronda Rousey and The Rock, going back to the reference you made of the WrestleMania previous.
Correct.
I can bring you back on screen. You know that, right?
I'm here. It's fine. Don't worry about it. I'm fine. Everything's great.
Is
Hi.
your Alexa going off?
No. We're fine. Don't worry about it. Continue.
Okay.
I'm gonna put this up for a little bit. It's fine.
Oh my god.
Hi. What's up?
I'm worried. I'm actually.
Oh, it's fine. Don't worry
worried.
about it. I might just die. That's about it.
Is there a bug in your room?
100%, buddy. Mosquito that we are ready to kill.
Welcome to the first visual episode of the Second Turnbuckle podcast. Tugi is going to become a murderer on. I'm going to get canceled on Twitch because it's on my stream, not yours, at Tugi24 on Twitch. Yeah. So we get Ronda Rousey, Kurt Angle, Triple H, Stephanie McMahon. Should have been The Rock based on before. She points at the sign. Doesn't even get a title match. It was absolutely terrible.
Agreed.
Number 3. Goldberg.
We're not talking about the Yappa Pie
No.
Indian strap match.
Nope.
Number 1.
Did I skip over one?
No, we're good.
I think I unintentionally skipped over one. Because we would have been still talking about it. Okay, Goldberg comes out. The Rock's doing a promo.
Fine, don't worry about it.
Hollywood Rock is doing a promo. And all of a sudden the
was.
drums go. Goldberg comes out, says you're next, spears him. He's in the WWE.
Yeah. It was good.
Number 2.
It was good. No, I mean I enjoyed it. I mean, and then he had the main event style match with Rock at Backlash 03. I believe in Worcester, Massachusetts, of all places.
Worcester.
and won, and then segued to a Jericho feud because they fought each other once and didn't like each other, and then they fought again. And then Goldberg wrestled 20-minute matches every night, and everyone was happy.
I don't think
Love you,
that's.
Bill.
I don't think that's how it ended up.
That's exactly what happened.
Number 2. That's gotta be Kane. Kane at a Hell in a Cell. We don't know who he is. There's talk about this brother.
wish I
Your
didn't know
brother
who he
was still
was.
alive. You know what? This is one where, okay, this was a cool debut. It had a great career. I can't argue with it being high on this list. I just don't know if it's number 2 with like the immediate impact and the career, but it was very cool when it happened, and at least it didn't die. You know, like the Shockmaster or what have you. Like, actually turned out to be a very good career for Glenn Jacobs.
Did I get him? Might have.
Why are you asking
Can't tell.
me? Did you hear it?
I don't know.
I didn't hear it.
It's more so a confidence thing myself.
Oh, you got it. You got it.
I think I did. Anyway.
I totally set you up to crap on Glenn Jacobs there, and you went.
You
for
did.
The fly.
I don't even know what the hell you said. I was fighting for my life over here. Yeah. So in terms of wrestling debuts in the WWE, it's the greatest debut of all time.
Not according to this list.
Well, this list can suck it,
yes.
As you see WWE, and they like that.
Number 1.
No, not number 1. Kane's debut.
Okay. Keep going.
Is the best debut in the history of the company, easily. You interrupt Hell in a Cell between 2 of the best of all time after, honestly, 7 months of buildup. They built this up from March after WrestleMania 13, like the night after, or if I'm not mistaken, the night after WrestleMania 13, after Undertaker beat Sid in the main event, and Sid crapped himself and all that. Paul Bearer comes out and it's like, "Hey, Undertaker, come back to me." I don't know what that accent is, but still. And Undertaker said, "No, I don't think I will."
Was Paul Bearer a plumber that went down tubes? And
it's a me, a Paul Bearer.
It's a me, a Paul Bearer.
It's a him. Yeah, that's exactly what he sounded like. Rest in peace, William Moody. Yeah, it was one of those things. It might have been the pay-per-view after. His first defense might have been, actually, I think his first defense was against Mankind. Bottom line is, they set it up the day after WrestleMania 13. Undertaker flash papers Paul Bearer in the face. And then Paul Bearer's like, "Well, Mark, you done fucked up. I'm going to tell everyone about your dead brother who's not dead." And then 7 months later, that not dead fucking libertarian scumbag came back from the grave and haunted the WWE for the rest of his time. He was my favorite wrestler growing up, so I'm still a bit salty over him. But yeah, it's the best debut of all time.
Really quickly too, I didn't know if you know this little known fact. When the Undertaker was first wrestling,
I do know.
He was actually billed as Kane the Undertaker.
He sure was.
Number 1.
Say, "Don't mind if I do." Fucking Singapore Kate him like Tommy Dreamer. Anyway.
Number 1, numero uno. I think we skipped over what I would have put number 1 on the list because we didn't really talk too much about it.
We didn't skip one.
We did. We skipped number 10.
Yep, we did. You're right. Holy shit.
Number 1 is not Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho is number 10 on this list. Number 1 is The Shield. What the fuck?
It's just to get boomers like us mad on fucking Facebook. That's all it is.
Oh my god. So The Shield again. This was during a this was CM Punk versus Ryback.
Mm-hmm.
And they were supposed to be like the bodyguards for CM Punk, and had nothing to do with CM Punk the night after, and they were their own guys, and blah blah blah. And all 3 of them have gone on to have great careers. CM Punk versus Cena and Ryback, so a 3-way. Okay.
Kinky.
I don't even. The fact that Chris Jericho's not number 1 on this list or in the top 2 is criminal. absolutely criminal.
It's just to piss us off.
It
I
worked.
won't fall for it.
It absolutely worked. We could
Well, yeah.
spend like half an hour going over the Jericho. I'll ask you, what's one or two or three that are not on there that you are surprised that is been replaced by Braun Strowman or the Usos?
It's a lot of history to think of.
Do you want me to
It's a
throw out
lot.
one while you're thinking?
Well, there's one that would never be mentioned ever,
Mm-hmm.
but the Radicals.
Ooh,
They'd never
yes.
mention it, but that it literally has to be. And I mean, obviously, if it was not for certain events in 2007, I think that would be top three, top five minimum.
I like it.
Because for the longest time, they got to hype that up as here was one of the, if not the final big turning points
Yeah.
in the Monday Night Wars was, hey, here's the Radicals, this group of guys that WCW didn't know how to do. And then, of course, WWE essentially tried their best to fucking bury them by having them lose. Chris Benoit lost to Triple H in his very first match in the fucking company, if not his second.
Yeah, but
But
that's always been Vince's MO. Like you come over from a different company, you don't win your first match. Sting didn't.
AJ lost to Chris Jericho at Mania 32.
Right. Cody Rhodes. Probably one of
Mm.
the biggest blunders in WWE history. Like, would the NWO count? But that wasn't
The
debut.
NW
That was return.
Correct.
That would be return. I was going to facetiously say fake Diesel and fake Razor Ramon, but again, that would be return technically. For
Yeah.
me, Lance Storm, Saddle Dome, Raw, super kicking to start off the or one of the catalysts to the invasion angle, which we could go on for hours about how much of a big blunder the invasion angle was, but
Mm.
hometown Calgary, Alberta, Canada. No, Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Running
Yeah,
through
it's
the
where you're
crowd.
from.
Yeah, oh yeah, I know. Uh running through the crowd, sliding into the ring, super kicking. I can't remember. Was it the Dudleys? I'm trying to remember
I don't
now.
remember.
Or
A lot of the invasions
yeah.
just blur for me at this point.
That was phenomenal, and I still somewhat like the invasion storyline. I wish it was done differently, but for what they had to work with, I think they did a decent job.
Mm.
Also, Mankind coming out and attacking the
Mm.
Undertaker. Like
That's a
you're
good one.
going after the big dog on your first day. I'm surprised that that's not on the list.
Still trying to think of. I mean, there's obviously so much history that could be there, but yeah, we can leave it at that.
Okay. So yeah, there you have it. The top 25 debuts.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. Sami Zayn.
That's up there too for more recent.
If you're gonna put Kevin Owens in there, I think you do have to put Sami Zayn in there as well.
Mm. Only
Oh,
fair.
the Ringmaster, Steve Austin. I had that on my list too. The
One
fact
of the
that like
worst.
you have The Rock, but you don't
And
have
Cena up there. Yeah, if
yeah.
you're gonna have. Yeah, that's fair.
No, we're gonna go AEW. We are gonna talk a little bit of the new stuff here. AEW has got a lot of new stuff. We're very close to an announcement for the video game, it sounds like.
Mhm.
But the big talk this week was the inclusion of Collision, a brand new show on Saturdays, which means Toogie, guess what?
Sunday pay-per-views, baby.
Sunday. It's Saturday.
Yeah, Sunday pay-per-views. They won't run pay-per-views on Saturday now because Collision's on Saturdays.
Saturday.
They used to run pay-per-views on Saturday.
They were in Calgary on July 15th. I was pissed off that they weren't getting a TV taping. This is about me right now. It's not always about you, Toogie, even though you think it is. I am jacked. I'm so excited that now July 15th at the Saddle Dome is going to be a TV taping.
Yeah.
Why? What
it's
the
gonna
difference
be a live
is?
show.
Yeah.
Not even a taping.
Well, yeah, true. Well, they're going to tape my mic.
ROH.
ROH. So Dynamite and why am I not thinking of the other one?
Rampage.
Rampage. It always happens on one of these. They're going to be taped together, and then ROH and Collision will be taped on the Saturday. And to start, it looks like it's going to have a very Canadian flavor, just based on how the tour is working. But I'm excited. There are rumors of a brand split. There's rumors of the second guy who won't be named, because the first guy we talked about, we have to mention the second guy who may have already screwed up his chance.
I haven't bothered really paying attention to
Fair.
any of that. Like, really, so like we said, WWE wise, neither of us are really in a spot right now where we're watching consistently. We're enjoying it. I think I seriously don't remember if our last show was a WrestleMania preview or a review of Mania,
It
but
was
that was the
review.
general sentiment
Yep.
coming out of Mania. Was just like, wow, you dropped the ball with Cody Rhodes. I still believe that. It's like, oh, but he beat Brock Lesnar and blah, blah, he's gonna wrestle Brock Lesnar. Cool, yeah, Brock Lesnar program means so much, especially when it's not for the title. Again, you could talk about, oh, WWE did their brand splitting. I just don't care. Like, there is nothing that they are doing right now that checks any boxes for me, so I just don't watch. AEW wise, for the most part, I'm still enjoying it. I think the build up to Double or Nothing has been pretty decent. I can't really say like they've had any bad shows. I don't know if they've ever really had a necessarily bad show. They've had some bad matches or bad moments, but that's wrestling. That happens. Um, but in terms of the drama surrounding the company, I just tune it out and just enjoy what's on my TV screen at this point. I enjoy when the achievement list for the video game drops, which really is a good sign of, oh shit, soon, soonish at the very least. Really enjoy that and excited for that game. Tune out like, oh, like people being like, oh, but the graphics suck. I do not care.
It's
Some of the prettiest games of all time are known as some of the worst games of all time. Shout out to you OG PS4 owners with The Order, what was it, 1886 or whatever the fuck. That is still one of the most gorgeous games ever made. That's 4 hours long and barely has any content in it, but it's gorgeous. I'll take a game that looks like it was made in 2000 but gives me the replayability over something that looks amazing but is fucking, you know,
who
just
who who hurt you?
incredibly shallow. Um, so for the most part, AEW wise, I'm pumped. Like, I'm excited for the pay per view. I'm excited for the game. I am excited that I've already secured tickets to go to their debut at TD Garden in July, which is awesome. Um, and for the most part, any because you alluded towards it, the other person we had that joke, CM Punk, like
Mm-hmm.
wherever he goes, for whether it's his fault or not, he certainly is swiping back at people like Brian Alvarez, and I'm just like, I don't care. I don't care. If he's on my TV again, cool. If he's not, it's cool too, because they're still doing well. I'm happy that you get to go to a Collision event.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, like, yeah, all the first episodes of Collision are all in Canada. Because it's part of that big Canadian tour leading up to Forbidden Door.
So the
Um,
first one, though, there hasn't been a site yet. There is no site announced for the first episode. They said that there's a date.
Chicago.
Oh my gosh.
It's
Yeah.
gonna be Chicago.
It's gotta be Kane.
That's gotta be Punk. It is. And cool. I'm intrigued. A lot of people are like, how can they risk the idea of Punk fucking things up again? I don't care. I'm going to have fun watching it either way. Either it ends up resulting in some amazing television or it implodes again and it's funny.
Yes.
And it's funny because it's not a fucking sports team, and I can be happy as a wrestling fan when cool things happen, and I can laugh when fucking dumb things happen regardless of the company. So I'm excited. If
Stupid.
Kane, although I will say, if the mayor of Knoxville shows up in AEW, I'm cashing out. I'll be an MLW fan.
Okay,
Whatever channel they are on.
really quickly on this one, because the Owen Hart Cup is going to be awarded at Collision in Calgary. We're going to get another fantastic tournament, just like last year's was. Does Bret Hart show up on the show?
No.
I slightly agree. It's one of those things where it's like, I don't expect it, but if it happens, it makes sense just because of the relationship with AEW, but also the relationship that they have with Dr. Martha Hart to have the Owen Hart Cup. It would be very, very cool if Bret Hart came out and awarded the belts or the trophy or whatever. But
I
on the
agree.
same token, I am swaying more towards it won't happen because of the relationship between the Harts and Martha Hart as well. Do we want to touch on any potential? We've got WWE talk. The only thing that I would bring up is the god awful big gold, and the
Yeah,
fact
so
that Cody's
go
not
ahead.
winning it. And then Edge released that promo on his social media, and it was awesome. And it was like, guys, I'm close to the end of the line. Like, I need this title, and then when I lose it, I'm done.
Mhm.
Didn't even win it. Like, it
I
was like
mean,
I pull for him as an old man, and the setup and the, like we've talked about before, the investment in the product and the payoff didn't quite match up. It was just on his Twitter. It wasn't like it was like this big 6-month buildup. But
right.
yeah, that one kind of got me right in the cockles of the heart.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm sure they could. Like, Edge's story will be surrounding that title. I mean, I don't even know who's in the tournament still. I don't,
It
because I don't
is
care.
Seth Rollins, and AJ. So either Seth Rollins is the first wrestler to be involved in 3 title creation matches. Not that you care. And AJ Styles, he's been just, they've done terrible with AJ Styles that it feels like either one's going to be a good champion. It's not Cody, it's not Edge, it's not.
Did AJ come back as a face?
Yeah, so the OC is back together,
That's how you immediately kill my interest. Fucking
and
hell.
they also got Maya Yim as because they were going up against the Judgment Day, and they needed a female wrestler, so they threw her in, and yeah. Oh,
Yeah, cool. Maybe we'll get a heel AJ Styles, and Edge will overcome the odds and then lose cool.
I'd be okay with that.
I
Roman Reigns apparently is going to go on a sabbatical and be a Hollywood star, even though he still holds both fucking titles. And they created a 3rd title so they'd actually have a champion on Raw. I love it. Big fan.
It's just like, really, it's one of those things when people are like, oh, you say you'll stop watching, but you'll be bet. Nope. So far, nope. Outside of seeing stuff on Twitter about Carlito coming back at Backlash, I have been almost 100% disconnected. And from everything you're telling me right now, cool.
It's
I've made the right choice.
it is such a dumpster fire still though.
Mhm.
Um yeah, outside of that, just checking our little cheat sheet here. Do you have today in history?
I do.
Or were you
And this is
expecting me to do that as well?
no, I got this. This will be
Excellent.
my big contribution.
And now, Toogie with Today in Wrestling History.
Yeah. So again, this goes to tjrwrestling.net, a lovely platform that I have used for a very, very, very long time. Um, that puts together these little articles. So, Crash, May 18th.
Okay.
First and foremost, we will start off with some birthdays. Uh,
You're struggling.
1943. We start things off with the second murderer mentioned on
Oh my
this
god.
episode, and Jimmy Snuka. Uh,
Is he now the 3rd we don't mention?
I think so. But you have to do you got to do the fucking hand sign of yeah.
Let me tell
It's
you
good.
something, brother.
God, yeah, Jesus. Um,
Aren't you glad we're a visual podcast now?
sure am. Um, Any memories of Kamala? Would have been his birthday today. He passed away a few years ago. Any memories of Kamala?
Just an amazing character. And I've never really heard stories of the guy as a person other than him getting like diabetes and then losing his leg
Hmm.
or something. And then
Yeah,
obviously I'm pretty sure that's what ended up getting him in the end. But
yeah.
just a fantastic character. I you never knew what he was going to do next, which was great.
I give him credit for being able to carry that character
Right.
through 3 decades of in-ring work.
His
If not
match, his stuff with the
close.
Undertaker was top notch. Absolutely, you got a monster who's afraid of something is so good. I loved
Okay,
it.
at a base level, sure. At a base level. Um, God, I have nothing to say about Dick Slater. Gary Albright would have been his birthday today too. All Japan legend. Get yourself caught up on Gary Albright, who actually was a very underrated wrestler who had a fantastic mullet.
I'm sorry,
That's all
but
I can say.
next time I go into Deke Slayer's stream, I'm gonna call him Dick Slater.
You should. Um, the man, the myth, the legend himself. It's the Blue Meanie's birthday today.
Hey, Deke.
Yeah, right.
What's going on, Dick Slater?
Old Dick
Uh,
Slayer.
love you.
Well, that's somebody else. But yeah, it's the Blue Mini's birthday today. I always like that guy. He's a good follow on Twitter. Seems like a really nice dude. Ring of Honor legend, managerial hero, Truth Martini. I'm honestly kind of surprised. I don't know if he got himself canceled or something, but he was a very good heel manager in Ring of Honor
Truth? Oh, okay,
in the
Ring of Honor.
2010s.
That's why I'm like, I have
Yeah.
no idea who.
And the most recent birthday, turning 32 today, maybe even 33, Colton Gunn, one half of the Ass Boys.
33?
Ooh. Yeah,
Interesting. Because
91 birthday.
they look like
No, he would
they're
be 32. He'd be 32.
well, still he looks like he's in his like early. Both of them look like they're in their early 20s.
Yeah, so Austin is 28. Gonna
Interesting.
turn 29 later this year. So
I
you almost wouldn't think because you're like, oh yeah, Billy Gunn, his kids, they can't be that old. And then you remember Billy Gunn's 59 years old. Um,
just
but no, the
killing it.
Guns are one hell of a success story on the AEW side of things. Just their insane rapid improvement over the last little bit.
100%.
So shout out to the Guns. So today in history, 1997, WCW Slamboree
I love how you do
main
these.
event.
You're sorry.
So,
Your Shatner like pauses for emphasis are amazing.
well,
Keep going.
hey,
Keep going.
main event. Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, and Six losing. The NWO lost
What?
WCW against the team of Ric Flair, Roddy Piper, and Kevin Green.
Rest in peace.
Yes, NFL superstar Kevin Green
You
passed
know,
away a few years ago too.
WCW, give them credit for finding guys who could go that, you know, Mongo I'd put up there.
He could go all right.
I mean, even thinking about like Rodman and like completely not the same level as what Kevin Green was able to do in Mongo, but you know,
Okay.
the whole
So
basketball.
what I want to do
Yeah.
for this Slamboree card
Yeah.
is I'm going to list the card, and then you tell me, do you have any temptation to go watch it?
Okay. Oh, so do I want to go back and watch it?
Yeah. So at the end of once I'm done naming the card, you tell me, do you have interest
Okay.
to go watch this?
The entire card, not match by match. Okay.
Yeah. The opener, Lord Steven Regal challenging for the WCW television title against the Ultimate Dragon. Not yet
Ooh.
Ultimo Dragon.
Okay.
There was
Interesting.
Medusa against Luna Vachon.
Okay.
Rey Mysterio Jr. and Yuji Yasuroka. That should be a who for most people.
Who?
Mortis against Glacier.
Okay. Absolute low key, that would be a decent match that wouldn't get the respect that it deserved.
It lasted 2 minutes.
Fuck.
Tremendous. Dean Malenko against Jeff Jarrett for the U.S. title.
Okay.
He who shall not be named number 1
Yeah.
against Meng.
Okay.
The Steiner brothers against Conan and Hugh Morris.
Humorous. It's a
Humorous.
play on words.
The previously aforementioned Steve Mongo McMichael against another former NFL player, rest in peace, Reggie
Reggie
White,
White, yeah. Okay.
Minister of Defense.
That was that was high on the card.
That
That
was
was
co-main.
suspiciously high on the card.
And the main event was that NWO match against Flair, Piper, and Kevin Green. Crash Andrews, do you have even the slightest interest in being like, yeah, I'd watch that?
You're gonna tell me. I'm sure you're gonna tell me what it was rated, or
Oh,
slightly.
here, I can give you the Tony Khan cage matched approve rating if you want me to.
I would slightly go back. Like if I was like, I would say, okay, out of 10, I would say it's maybe like a 5, 6. Around there. Like the card on paper doesn't sound that bad. There's some really weird ones like Meng versus who was
He who shall not be named number 1.
right. Like where did that come from? I don't remember that storyline at all.
In a death match, no less.
Interesting. Okay, now that's gone up from a 6 to a no. Medusa versus Luna Vachon for some reason sounds like an absolute banger that probably only got 3 minutes.
5.
5, okay. Um
Take that, Glacier.
there's some interest. I wouldn't say that I'm going to end the podcast and go and watch it, but there is some interest in that.
Okay.
Card.
I didn't see this next one. This is gonna get sad for a minute, all right, before we talk about another wrestling event.
Okay.
Uh, on this day in 2002, the British Bulldog Davy Boy Smith passed away at age 39 from a heart attack. Um, Now I'm sad because shit, right? Because the
Yeah.
natural question for me to ask you is like, hey, British Bulldog memories? I know I got a lot of them.
I met him
Damn.
once, I think. The memory that first jumped out was the SmackDown was like the next SmackDown after was in Calgary. And it was the SmackDown with Kurt Angle was bald, had the wig, had the headset. It was a
Mhm.
cage match between Edge. Hogan returned to Calgary for the first time in almost, it was like 15 years or something like that. He got an amazing standing ovation. I remember this was around when you brought signs. You always brought signs to events, and I made a sign that said "All Bulldogs go to heaven." That was my sign for the event.
Mm.
An absolute talent. You'd easily put him on the list um, of wrestlers who greatest wrestlers who didn't win the major title in one of the big 3 or 4, whatever you want to call it.
Agreed. Yeah.
Absolute talent, absolute heat creator. I get a chance to bump into his son. He's one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. Just an absolute monster physically, just like his dad. And yeah, just
Well,
see him.
that's the thing I always think of is it's like, okay, he was 39. You know,
Yeah.
Bulldog's around a little bit longer. He likely would have had that moment of, oh, hey, here's Harry in a tag match with his dad
Oh,
on like SmackDown or something. Like that would have happened. And
yeah.
obviously it's a shame for so many reasons that it didn't.
Wasn't it too that like one of the reasons he really obviously like that era of wrestling had meds going like crazy, but wasn't it like he did a back body drop on the trap door for
Yep.
the Warrior
Yep.
back in WCW and basically amped up his intake to cope with that, which is absolutely tragic. You can't really put blame on anybody, but on the same token, like
Eh,
you can, but
yeah, I mean it was a war games. You had 2 rings and apparently they weren't very communicative about where this trap door was. And yeah, Bulldog took a backdrop on it and then suffered. I think he ended up with an injury and an infection and ended up in the hospital for a while. Um, and yeah, was out until he made his WWF return in jeans,
Right.
which
And
is forever immortalized in No Mercy, of course.
his feud with the Big Boss Man. Legendary.
Delightful. In 2003, there was another event, WWE Judgment Day. Crash, tell me if this event is something you're interested in.
Okay, hit me.
The opening match, John Cena teaming with the FBI, Chuck Palumbo and Johnny the Bull Stamboli with Nunzio
Okay.
against He Who Shall Not Be Named #1,
Yeah.
Rhino, and Spanky Brian Kendrick.
That's WWF champion Brian Kendrick.
The Brian Kendrick.
Brian,
yes. Such a big fan of him on that run.
That match, I only kind of want to see it only because I loved heel Cena.
Fair. La Resistance, Sylvain Grenier, Rene Dupree against Scott Steiner and Test.
Oh, banger. Absolute banger.
Memes aside, the next match actually is. It was a ladder match between Team Angle, Charlie Haas and Shelton Benjamin against Eddie Guerrero and Tajiri for the tag titles.
Yes, 100% would watch that match. No meme, no sarcasm, but 100%.
There was a battle royal for the vacant Intercontinental title that had previously been merged with the world title in the fall of the prior year when Triple H beat Kane at No Mercy.
That was so dumb.
Yeah. There was a bikini challenge between Tori Wilson and Sable.
Yeah.
Roddy Piper against Mr. America.
This was like, with all due respect to Roddy Piper, because he's one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. This was fat Roddy Piper. This wasn't fit Roddy Piper. This was it was tragic.
Triple H defending the World Heavyweight title against Kevin Nash.
Yeah, nobody needed to see that that was the beginning of Kevin Nash's, the end of his career, basically.
Are you happy they'd have a match 8 years later? Like the sledgehammer on a ladder match?
Yeah.
Whatever the fuck it was.
Sure, why not?
Yeah, you remember when they did that and CM Punk Triple H became about Triple H and Kevin Nash? That was fun.
Yeah.
Fatal 4-Way Women's title match, Jacqueline, Victoria, Trish Stratus, and Jazz.
I wasn't really a big Jazz fan, but the other three
What'd Utah ever do to you?
What? There's a reason I didn't put chat on this layout, by the way.
It's because of Richard Head.
Because of Richard Head. Love you.
Exclusively.
Yeah.
And the main event.
We need a big main event here for me to be at all interested in this one.
Oh, it's a big main event. Well, I'll tell you how big of a main event this was.
It's a big show. Big show.
Brock Lesnar defends the WWE title against the Big Show in a stretcher match.
I'm gonna go watch the WCW match. The WCW
take Slamboree.
Yes. Oh man, that's like which one would you watch? I'm gonna go watch Slamboree. 100%.
Yeah. Fair. Let's see. 2004, Chavo Guerrero won the Cruiserweight title. Cool. Oh, good. 2008, another one. Judgment Day 2008. Why not?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. And then this way, yeah, you can tell me which event out of the three you would watch.
Okay.
I believe this is the last one, with the exception, 2015, we mentioned it earlier, Kevin Owens, that debut against John Cena happened today, 8 years ago.
Let's go.
How the fuck was that 8 years ago? Holy God. So yeah, Judgment Day 08. So man, this is just very different eras, even 5 years away. The opener, John Cena against JBL.
That would be good. That'd be a good match. It always was.
The Miz and John Morrison defend the tag titles against CM Punk and Kane.
Okay.
Shawn
Don't
Michaels
remember
against
that at
Chris
all.
Jericho.
Absolute banger.
Beth Phoenix versus Melina versus Mickey James for the women's title.
Melina wrestling was never a good time.
Yeah. Edge versus The Undertaker for the vacant World Heavyweight title.
100% every time I would watch that match.
MVP against Jeff Hardy.
Okay. MVP was a solid. Jeff Hardy's Jeff Hardy. When he's sober, he's an amazing, amazing performer. When he's not sober, he's interesting. I don't remember that feud, but yeah, I would watch it.
And the main event for the WWE title, Randy Orton against Triple H in a steel cage.
Okay, this
so
is
would
tough.
you watch Slamboree 97, Judgment Day 03, or Judgment Day 08?
03 is out. 03 is
That's
not
the bottom,
happening.
huh?
Not happening. Out
Don't
of
need
the
to
other
see Piper
two,
in 03.
I am still kind of siding with WCW for some reason.
Fair enough.
Like, I don't know if it's because I watched more WWEF through my watching career, if you want to call it that, whatever. Yeah, out of the two, I'd probably still go with Slamboree. Just the matches just seemed more interesting. Like, knowing the wrestlers and seeing how they, connect and everything like that. That's the one I'd probably be going to.
I gotta be honest. I think I'd go Judgment Day 03.
Yeah.
Because just the shit show of it all.
Fair.
Just the shit show of it all. I think would be too much fun to watch.
If I was spending my money, it's Slamboree. If I'm spending your money, it's Judgment Day 03. 100%.
Fair enough.
I think at this point, we're pretty close to our 1 hour. Toogie, outside of the name bar that's resting below your chin, where can people find you?
At that name bar where people, Toogie24 on Twitter, on Instagram, on Twitch,
Kick?
on YouTube.
Are you on Kick yet?
No, and I won't be because I'm not going to bolster a platform designed to scam people.
Hey.
Yeah, thanks, but no thanks in regards to that platform where people get fooled into thinking that it's going to be their breakout moment, and in reality, you're only helping make the people running the scam at the top even more money. Hate to tell you. Anyway, Crash, where can people find you?
Here on Twitter and everywhere else without this stupid underscore. The golden shovel. Derp. What are we talking about? Golden shovel. What's the golden shovel?
It's Triple H burying all of them.
You know what I got you. Yeah, Crash Andrews on Instagram, TikTok. I did grab it on Kick. I like going to the daddy issue. What? But on Twitch as well, which we are. I mean, I had fun doing this where you could see our faces.
Yeah, it was a good time. Why not? You got a whole fucking entertaining show here. I mean, I'm the electrical Jim Cornette over here with this fucking loaded racket.
Electrical Jim Cornette.
minus the sexism and the fear of things I don't understand.
God, you put the hood on and you're like evil Kermit. You can find the very slightly used second turnbuckle Twitter. Go ahead. Yeah, slightly used. I said it. I meant it. Go. What were you leaning in to say?
Do it.
And as always, we are going to leave you with a quote from the greatest. His name is Bobby Heenan. Now remember this: when a man sticks out his hand to you, you shake it, then kick him really hard when he's not looking. Bye, everybody.